So today I am going to be having a conversation that will be supporting a point that great stories are a key to successful innovation. In order to do that, I'm going to be using anecdotal evidence from my own experiences. I'm going to be throwing facts at you, and essentially this should remind you about first period English class with your teacher, right? Don't fall asleep on me. The idea here, though, is that when we think of stories, and you may have heard in the biography, I coined my life as a novel. I think selfishly, in tying it all together for us, everyone should refer to their life as a novel because we're all writing our own stories each and every day. How does that tie into innovation? Well, I'll get to that shortly, but what I want you to do is close your eyes, really nice and tight. Think about the best story that you've ever heard. Think about how that story makes you feel. Is it funny? Is it sad? Is it dramatic? Really messy? But notice how when you think about the story, you gotta kind of get a cool feeling, right? And now open your eyes. You feel invigorated. You want to take action. You want to step up and do something to either relive that story or change it. And that's the key to this formula. Great stories inspire action, and action drives innovation. So, if we take that formula and break it down, we understand a really sad truth about how we live our lives. Every single day, ideas of innovations to change the world, they die. And we're all the killers. I know, it's extreme accusation, right? The sad reality is you think of something awesome and cool and you think that it doesn't have much novelty, and immediately you discredit yourself, dissuade yourself from even pursuing your vision, just because you say, this is stupid. If you get anything from this presentation today, stop calling your ideas stupid. They're going to be peculiar, weird, maybe really far out there, but not stupid. Because regardless of the size of your idea, it can really impact the way someone lives their life, whether that's at home or in a completely different country. So let's go back to that thought of ideas just dying on arrival, almost like a pack of light bulbs that just doesn't work. Even some of the greats, Steve Jobs, for example, had amazing ideas in their lifetime. I can probably think of a few. You're probably using them as I speak. The iPad was a failed idea on its arrival. Steve himself actually said, people don't want tablets. They see tablets and think failure. People want keyboards. And I'm paraphrasing, but we kind of know where the iPad actually ends up. But how amazing is it that before the iPad was real, this thing that we hold and use in classrooms every day, that it was this thing that just flickered and almost died because there wasn't a great story to accompany it. There wasn't a plot. There wasn't an audience. There was no way to really reach this intangible thing. And that's really what great stories, once again, they come alive. Great stories are what drive ideas forward. They're what make things that cannot be seen more real. That's what real creators use. Sometimes you may look at these people as the weirdos of society. Well, I'm here to tell you, embrace your weirdness. Be the one who's different. Talk to things that don't exist. Acknowledge the fact that there may be a place for your peculiar idea. Much like the iPad, because I will say before the iPad was the iPad once again, there was actually another tablet. Its predecessor, the Microsoft tablet, and not the Surface, was actually an idea that came forth 10 years prior and failed, simply because, well, it wasn't really given to an appropriate market. It wasn't sold in the way that the iPad was for a digital media device. It just did not fit the needs of the consumer. And that spans multitude spectrums, multitude industries, and it goes to so many of what we deal with today when we're trying to sell an idea, gain support, maybe host a TED Talk event, create something that didn't exist but make it real. So how do you make this real? Well, let's first dive back once again. Some of the greatest ideas that you could think of, even in today's world, TikTok, YouTube, White Castle, cheesecake on a stick. It's a Jersey thing, it's delicious. All of these ideas had to be sold at some point to investors, engineers, and customers who had no real reason to buy them. I mean, what would it take to make cheesecake more delicious? Then, of course, deep frying it and then putting it on a stick. Once again, try it. But these bright ideas are what bring all the things and creations that we know and love today to real life. And TikTok, even being, from its inception, is about spreading stories. Think about the TikTokers who come up with new and creative ways of how to cook food that we love. They're not necessarily brand new inventions or life-changing, but knowing that I can make French toast in a toaster, or knowing that I can make pancakes in a toaster, or quite frankly, do anything with a toaster, it's pretty informative. It's formative, right? And that's what I want you to take and go forth. These ideas are so crucial, but the way innovation works is it starts with an idea and ends with a great story. So we have to really think about all of these concepts, and we come back to the baseline. Because there is a science to really create these amazing, phenomenal stories that people tell themselves. And the first step, I will say, even before I get to my formula, have confidence in yourself. I think we've heard from amazing people today where confidence is a key component in doing everything that makes you amazing creators and innovators. But is it that simple, Chris? Is it just a cliche of have confidence, believe in yourself no matter what, and go forth, and that's the end of the story? Well, then I'd wrap up the speech and we'd be done pretty early, right? But I think it goes a little bit deeper, because once again, great stories are a key component to successful innovation. And in order to have a great story, you have to be able to come up with a problem. Don't create a solution that has no problem, because then, well, you just have this cool thing and you have all the details and the tech and the fact and why it's so cool. My AI is better than Jim Bob's AI, but why does it matter to you, right? Why would you spend money on it? Having that problem to start with the baseline of that specific area, and it doesn't have to be worldwide. Some of the best ideas start small, in someone's own home, fixing their own issue. Once you have that problem, it's easy to build up where you started from and where you actually want to end. And this is what makes your story easy to tell, easy to be relatable to. This is how you draw an audience in. The next step, well, I'm going to need some help from the audience. What does this say on the screen? Kiss, right. And not kiss in maybe the way you're thinking about it, a little non-traditional. In my world, this means keep it simple, stupid. You like that? Yeah. It goes to say that no matter how old you get, no matter what you decide to do, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be a creative, time and time again, people like simplicity. People like things that they can understand. And once again, if you have robotics and they're changing the world, but you can't explain it simply, people can't relate. But if you have a robot that can do a backflip and land on a box, well, then it's an easier sell, right? Hence what Boston Dynamics is doing. But the simplicity of your story is going to be absolutely crucial in building the plot line and selling it to the masses. Because, yes, you could sell your advanced technological phenomenon to a few, but is that really going to change the world the way you want? The most of the masses need education on how whatever technology or innovation you're putting forth actually matters to them. And if you follow this formula of KISS, I guarantee you'll not only go forward in selling your innovations, but talking about yourself, or just telling a funny story of what happened when you walked down the street. For example, I'm here today because I knew the problem of many people not being able to tell great stories, much like myself, and I wanted to spread that. To keep it simple, I actually had a struggle in getting here. You see me doing a little chicken wing. I fractured my shoulder before getting here, playing soccer. And without getting the complications of it, it's healing very well, but I'm able to just keep it in and focus on the problem that I want to address, which is telling you how to tell a great story. And to keep it simple, I'm here today and it's not bothering me. So we move on. But where do you go from there? Well, I want you to think back to that story that you came up with inside your head when you closed your eyes. There's even more science to it. And I'm not going to say that I'm an expert, but once again, I said that I would be using real life experience in explaining how this works. So, in using my real life experience, we're going to talk about the brain. There's a piece of the brain that you can activate to reel in your audience and really have them involved. And you can think to your story, or you can think to a simple Tide commercial. Cortisol. I call this the stress hormone, right? It's all about urgency, alertness. This is what really gets you hyper-focused and tense because you're concerned. Think about when it's 4th down, 5 yards to go, Super Bowl's on the line. Will they make it, will they not? You're on the edge of your seat. Tide commercial. Somebody has a white shirt and spaghetti just spilled all over it. Oh my God, how will they clean it? You're stressed. This is the key in order for you to really, really have people so engaged and involved when you're selling something or you just want them to pay attention. And then when you tie that in with another key component, oxytocin, now you've built a bonding empathy to the story that keeps them there. Because cortisol it's up and down, hot and cold, like a Katy Perry song. But oxytocin is there for the long run. That's where you see yourself in this imaginary figure. I talked about Jim Bob. Yeah, he spilled spaghetti on his shirt, but Jim Bob was getting ready for his first ever interview out of college, and he could not fail that day because everything was riding on him. He was the first generation to ever get out of college. And this white shirt, even though a small issue, very important to this interview that he had with his job. Now it's less stressful, more relatable, and you're a lot more empathetic about Jim Bob, right? Even though you don't know who he is, because that could be any of you. That's when you activate the oxytocin. That's when you really have people locked in to believe in your story. And when you build on top of that, now the audience is reeled in. Obviously, they want to keep reading whatever you're pitching, right? Well, what ends up happening? You get to this point where it's your responsibility as the innovator, as a creator, to put your audience at ease. Make them believe that something can be resolved. Make them believe that going forward with your idea or an idea that you really believe in is the way to go. Give them something that allows them to activate those endorphins. Now, once again, there's lots of debates on how you can really use these to your advantages, but within storytelling, when I talk about the creativity and relaxation that comes from putting someone at ease slowly, this is beneficial during conversations because if you're just talking to someone all the time, eventually they're gonna go, yeah. The idea here is you get them involved. You have that conversation to have them pitch ideas. This is where mentorship becomes very critical. This is where partnership becomes very critical because innovation is not a lone wolf activity. It involves multiple people, multiple brains, multiple actions that one person cannot do on their own. And that endorphin rush that people get once they're truly reeled in, it unleashes creativity like no other. So if I come back to the iPad, we talked about how the first Microsoft tablet it was on the mark, but in terms of selling to an audience, they were just still giving it to the same people that were buying laptops. So now you had 2 laptops, one with a keyboard, one without. Probably gonna use the keyboard. But Apple did something a little different. And it hurts to say because I'm a Microsoft fanboy, but they did it a little bit better. They designed the iPad for a completely different group of people. The students, the people who didn't like to carry around a bulky laptop, the people who were creatives, the people who like to draw and wanted to get rid of paper, less notebooks. All my textbooks now fit on an iPad. I can go to school without a book bag. That's great. You find the audience, you come up with creative knowledge and creative anecdotes of where this fits, and your idea becomes a way easier sell, and before you know it, you've built a $40 billion industry. Yeah, a lot of you are shaking your head. That's where you're going to be, huh? But that's the key. So you've got these endorphins, you've got the creativity, and like I said, creativity is key because Steve Jobs didn't just come up with it on his own. It was a team of people, right? And that team of people, once the endorphins hit, were able to come up with what euphoria and bliss looked like for their end customers. Euphoria and bliss, it's great. You finally feel this release that everything's been resolved. The movie just ended, Superman has saved the day, you're at ease, everything's worked out in your favor. It doesn't always have to be good. Sometimes there's bad results. And this can also be bliss in a way where the loose ends have been wrapped up. Because even within failure, there's new beginnings to your innovation. The key component here is that there is some form of resolution. You've tied the loose knots. You've tried something, and if it works, phenomenal. If it doesn't, it's the new beginning for you to start the process all over again. And the only way that you can keep that flow of nonstop ideas is if you keep telling the story in a way where if it doesn't necessarily end the way you thought it was, well, that's only book 1 of 2, 3, 4, how long's Harry Potter now? I forget. But you can keep it going and rewriting how that story needs to end. And the dopamine and the endorphins, and they all keep working together in this up and down roller coaster, and that's really how innovation works. It never stops. The story is always getting written in a new way. But I digress, because I could talk about that forever. The idea here is now that you have a formula, addressing a problem, and then keeping that problem and that plot very simple, you now have the science of what you want to hit in the brain. And all that put together helps you write this amazing story or pitch deck, whatever you want to call it, but it's this thing that you want to tell to other people and sell to the masses. Once you've done this appropriately, if you've done it right, we go back to the original saying that I had. You invoke action. You invoke people who get your idea, who understand what you're trying to do, understand that you're trying to save the world. Or you get people who understand that you're trying to make a difference in your own life. This is how you inspire your mentors to believe in you. This is how you inspire your consumers to actually pre-order something that may not even exist, right? We've all seen the crowdfundings and whatnot. This action, this is the driver to innovation, because this is what inspires people to actually make a move, make a difference. Without this action, well, ideas are just dead on arrival, and you're back to square one of saying, this is silly, this is off, this is stupid. Because what you're doing is you're not putting together your story in a fully fledged way. And I'm going to repeat it, because this is most important when you tell a good story, to repeat yourself sometimes. It's okay. Great stories are a key component to successful innovation, because without great stories, your ideas are dead on arrival. And the formula is very easy. Great stories inspire action. Action drives innovation. Therefore, great stories are a key component to successful innovation. So that way, when you have this great idea, you can go the route of what Microsoft did originally and work based on facts, details. We're the biggest, we're the baddest, we're the best. And find out that most people often, they don't care about those details. What they're most interested in is, how does this affect me? And the only way you can truly do that is with a great story. And that's where I hope that you go in the direction of the iPad. You find people who believe in that story, you tell them the story, you make it relatable, and you solve their issue appropriately. So, that's that in terms of how to tell a great story. I'm going to end with this in terms of when you do become successful innovators, when you do tell these amazing stories with this new superpower that you have, just recognize that you have a moral code as a creator, as an inventor in this world to do good. Because telling a great story, you can inspire a lot. You can also inspire a lot of bad. So you have to be cautious of how you tell these stories and what you actually want to drive in terms of change. Following that moral code to do for the greater good, or to do unto others what you want done unto you, to be cliche. And if you follow that code, then your story will forever be told by others in an amazing way. So, thank you for your time.